Jeffrey, welcome to the Vermillion Unplugged. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm good actually. I don't have a class to teach today, so it's my day off.
Oh, isn't that really?
Yeah, I teach Tuesday and Thursdays for this semester, and I have an online class. So today is usually my course prep day and relaxing day. So hence my relaxing shirt.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then also, happy D-Days. So, do you know what D-Days is? Have you heard about it?
I have heard about it in that students would want professors to cancel classes for that. Yeah, but I don't really understand though. So walk me through quickly.
Yeah. So D-Days, same thing. I'm still new to it. It's a homecoming. It's USD's homecoming parade
Okay.
or not parade, homecoming week. So today is actually October 11th. Whenever this is aired, football. They're gonna have a big football game tomorrow on Saturday. I think against Iowa or Northern Iowa. So I apologize, but tomorrow, around 9:00, there's a parade. It's gonna go through. This street is Main. It's really cool. It's really big. It's really long. I suggest if you have a chance, there's going to be a lot of people.
I see.
There's going to be a lot of people at the game. And also, this is all going to be the first time I go to downtown after the game. They say it's like packed. Hopefully, they say restaurants are packed. There's vendors. There's people selling this. There's people having fun. They say it's a big event. I've never been like there. We always just see the parade and go to the game sometimes, and that's it. But that's what it is. It's just homecoming for USD. I'm supposed to be. Oh, they encourage wearing red. I forgot.
Oh, okay.
You got red. You got a little bit of red, so that's all right.
Well, I graduated from University of Arizona, and we also wear red. And our mascot is also our mascot is a wildcat, so it's similar to a coyote in a sense. Similar.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, another thing I just learned. So I thought in the beginning, I always thought it was pronounced coyote. So here in the Midwest, they pronounce it coyote.
What?
So that's why you hear coyote or yotes.
Brand new information.
Yeah. a neighbor of mine, a friend of ours, he said, hey, because I said coyote.
Yeah.
Said, hey, don't say coyote. They don't like it. Say coyotes. I'm like, oh, I guess the Midwest thing.
But we are referring to the same animal.
Yep.
Okay. So a coyote and a coyote, which is the wrong way of saying it here.
Yeah, I think
see.
that's it. So just a note, because I just figured that out too. I was talking about that this week with someone. Yeah, about coyote and coyote.
Okay.
So it should be cool. Oh, I need to dive into it. So what do you do?
So basically, I was just hired here this August, very new. And I am here to focus on Asian history, Asian religion, and digital humanities. And specifically, I will offer courses like Chinese history, Buddhism classes, and GIS and/or spatial analysis for my teaching load and for my research in the future as well.
Okay, that's what I got recommended. So Jing Williams, a fantastic person.
Shout out to Jing. Thank you for recommending me.
Yeah, because the whole episode, most of the episode, it was fascinating because we were talking about, I asked her, hey, what do you like? She said, with the World War II era, but she focused on the Asian part. I think it was post-World War II.
Yeah.
And in the episode, I was like, we never, in school, we never talk about that. We always talk about, Nazi Germany, the U.S., Pearl Harbor, and Japan bombing, and then I think, and then nukes. But we never, my bad. I never, heard about, what happens to other countries, especially the Asian countries. So it was fascinating. And I guess that's why also she recommended you, because you mentioned about Asian history. I'm like, I don't know too much about it. I just know, actually, I don't know at all. Maybe in movies, but I'm pretty sure that's not accurate. But let me rephrase from that. So where are you originally from?
I'm from Taiwan, a small island country next to Jing's hometown, China. So we are, it's a bit controversial nowadays because there is this China and Taiwan different political stances. Some would consider Taiwan as an independent country and some would not. However, I'm from Taiwan and that's basically much.
And then how long were you in Taiwan before coming to the States?
So I finished my grad school, my master's program in Buddhist studies in Taiwan. That was 27. So yeah, I moved to the US for a PhD degree when I was 27, and yeah, I've been here ever since. This is my 6th year here in the US.
Ooh, okay. How are you liking it so far?
So far, so good. I've not been to a lot of places, unfortunately. My PhD degree is in the University of Arizona in Tucson. I've stayed there for 5 years, and in my studies, I have been to California, and that's basically it. I've been to California and Arizona. Yeah.
Now, okay, I like talking to people when they're from different countries. So, I love it because I want to know: is there like now since you've been here for a few years,
Yeah.
have you noticed, or was there like a big culture shock, or have you noticed any differences like from the culture from the U.S. versus like Taiwan?
Yes. So for me, the biggest culture shock is the population density. So my hometown is Kaohsiung, Taiwan. It's a southern city in Taiwan. It has like 2.5 million people or 3 million people. And Taiwan, if you viewers, if you are doing it right now, just Google Kaohsiung, Taiwan, southern tip. And it's a very small city, but packed with people. So we have skyscrapers and 80-story tall buildings and just packed. And when I landed to Tucson, I thought, wow, there's not a lot of people here. But as I spoke to my colleagues and friends in Tucson, they said, well, you know what? Tucson actually is one of the larger cities in the US. It has like 500,000 people. It's a very, very big city in Tucson, and I just don't feel it yet.
Mm.
So my first culture shock, if you will, is to adjust from a big city living style to a more laid back, small town kind of style. And it turns out, hey, I like it actually, because yeah, my wife is from a countryside in Taiwan, so she likes Tucson more than I do back in the days,
Mhm.
and the Tucson culture and the nice people slowly grown onto me. Everything is so convenient, and you just drive around and enjoy your day doing your errands and take your things slow, take time slow in Tucson.
In the city back in Taiwan, is it more? What's the word? Is it more walkable? Is there like more of a transportation, or you same thing? You got to be in car. How does that
Oh,
work?
it's both actually. So in Taiwan, we have motorcycles. So people don't usually drive because there's a pain in the somewhere to find for parking spaces in downtown. So there's a massive transport system like the subway. And it's also walkable to grocery stores or to my high school and junior high school. So it's a mix of all different things, I guess.
Now here in Vermillion, I'm guessing now it's a smaller place. Have
Yes.
you how do you like it so far?
Ah, so this sort of parallels to my comment of my wife being from the countryside.
Mm.
Vermillion looks almost identical to her hometown, which is, for viewers, it's in Taidong in Taiwan. And Taidong is a city next to the Pacific Ocean. So we have a lot of Americans like surfing in Taidong. They like the country and they like the city there because it's unlike any other busy cities in Asia. It's a laid back town. And for me, I like Vermilion because people are so friendly to me, even friendlier than what I've received in Tucson. Because, yeah, I mean, the community here is smaller but very strong. I feel like people know each other here. We know what each other is doing, including the faculty from the university and the community in the city area. I like it very much. Having the ability to know basically everyone when you're just strolling downtown. Such a nice feeling.
Now are you ready for that cold weather? Maybe not.
I was told that it gets extremely cold either by you last time or by my colleagues. I don't know. I guess I need a pair of expensive snow boots and a very big jacket.
Just yeah, get the well, maybe because I'm just not, originally I never grew up in the cold because you'll see people, I don't know why, you'll see people just like walking in the, I know that there's a professor for chemistry, and I need to get him on. I forgot his name.
Okay.
I see him all the time. You will see him. I think you'll see him walking
Downtown?
anywhere in Vermillion.
Okay, cool.
cold. Well, actually, all the time. But I believe if someone told me, right, I think he's, I apologize. I don't know if he's from Russia or Siberia, but in that area,
The very cold place.
yeah, I believe, I apologize. I'll get him on. I'll get him on. But I see him, like in the summer, he's walking. He's really very active. So he'll wear just shorts and he doesn't wear a shirt.
Okay.
Then once it gets, I think it's kind of chilly, like right now. Like you see me wearing a long sleeve, like I say in the episode.
It's kind of cold this morning.
You'll see him wear like a normal shirt. And then like it gets cold. Like I think it gets cold. Like for example, in Fahrenheit, it'll get like, let's say 40, 50. Well, just like how it is in the morning, but all day.
Yeah.
You'll still see him with a regular shirt. And that's when you start seeing me with a sweater. Then it gets like, you see snow. There's snow. You'll see me covered up, puffy jacket, overalls, boots. And I swear I see him with his shorts and then with now he puts a hoodie on. I'm like, oh snap. This guy is like built for the snow.
Wow.
You'll see, and then you'll see people running, and I'm not built for it. But get a jacket. Get like a nice puffy jacket.
Yeah, I'll probably get that in November, I guess, when it starts getting cold. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think that's when, because it's gonna get cold and it's gonna snow. Right, like January, February, boom. Those are when those storms hit sometimes.
Okay.
So it should be okay. Now, and I strayed off a lot on that topic.
No.
So this is where I want to talk to you. So you mentioned Buddhism, and then I think you did say it. You are Buddhist, right?
Yes.
And I was asking a lot of people about this because they are excited. Because I'm like, hey, I like talking about religions. I think it's fascinating. I like the history about it. I think it's cool. I like the lore. It's fascinating. I'm not too familiar with it. Usually here, I'm more familiar with Christianity, maybe Judaism, and then it's Islam. Yeah, the Abrahamic religion.
Yes.
And there's actually our neighbors, they're Hindu, but I don't know much about it.
Oh, Hindu. Okay.
That. And then this is the first time I guess I talked to someone about Buddhism.
Awesome.
But what is Buddhism? Like, what is it? Because I think what I've seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm being stereotyped,
no.
is
please do.
Go to like a restaurant and then there's like a Buddha statue?
A fat Buddha statue right in the middle and usually shirtless with his belly out.
Yeah.
Laughing all the time.
Yeah. Is that accurate or that is not it?
The laughing Buddha is one of the representations of Buddhism. So in contrast with the Abrahamic religions that are mostly monotheistic, so they believe in one God, and also different from Hinduism that is hard polytheistic, meaning they believe in the existence of multiple gods. Buddhism does not believe in a creator deity. There's no creator god in Buddhism. All of the gods or the holy / the sacred are all manifestations through our mind, according to the Buddhist tradition. And there are so many deities in Buddhism that are manifested because we need them in their different forms. So they are deities with supernatural powers with the mind, or they can travel really far in a like blink of a second, or they can see really, really far, etc. And this laughing Buddha, the chubby, big-bellied Buddha, he is a representation of having, what's a nice English word for it? Of tolerance. So his belly signifies that you can put all the behind you and they can all be stuffed into the belly, meaning you tolerate all the sufferings and all the anger and the illusions or delusions that you suffer through your everyday life, meaning you take that all in and digest it and you become happy again. For the Buddhist tradition, that is one of the representations that is. So let us circle back to the original question, like, what is Buddhism? This is very difficult to answer. Like now I'm teaching a world religions class. I will also be teaching a world religions class for every semester from now on. So if you see a class on religion or on Buddhism in USD, that's all me. Yeah, but not all religion classes are taught by me though. So for this week, coincidentally, I am focusing on Buddhism. I will be talking about Buddhism in 2 weeks in my class. And interestingly, I haven't get to the point of defining the religion actually, because, well, A, it's difficult, and B, it's just such a metaphysical concept in Buddhism, as in not to define itself, but we should, instead of understanding it, we realize and we have awareness to it. So, for example, the square one question again, Buddhism originated from India, so it has similar roots in Hinduism. So it can be said as a parallel to the Judaism and Christianity kind of relationship, because they share similar deities like Jesus. And there's the Old Testament, but however, the Judaism does not like the usage of Old Testament. There's the Hebrew Bible and there's the New Testament.
Yeah.
Similarly to Hinduism and Buddhism, they share similar beliefs. They all believe in reincarnation, the usage of karma, as in how our actions in the present day life will affect our future. We can be a better person or a worse person in the future based on our actions. For example, if I spill coffee to you right at the moment, that will be something that counts negatively towards my reincarnation process. I will be punished because I threw a coffee at you without any reason today. This is a similar theme in Hinduism and Buddhism. And the creator God, or should I say, because it is more of a conventional term to say a creator God in Buddhism, but the founder of Buddhism was actually a prince. He was born in Nepal, and his name is Siddhartha Gautama. So he was actually a person who lived in royalty under the Hindu context. So in Hinduism, they have the caste system. So the 4 different hierarchies that is embedded in the society. We have the highest hierarchy being the priest level, and the second to highest are the royalties, the monarch level. And the Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, this Prince Siddhartha, was born into the second highest level. So he was a king. He was born a prince into the royal family. And he was very protected during his youth because he was supposed to be an heir to the mighty kingdom that he was born into. And one time, it was the Buddha in his teenage age, the teenage Siddhartha, if you will. He went out to the palace because he wanted to see something new. And instead of seeing something interesting, our young Siddhartha Gautama, the young Buddha, saw 4 different things that we Buddhists call the 4 sights. The 4 sights. So he saw an old person, a sick person, a dead person, and a hardcore practitioner. Like he was doing some intense meditation and or some ascetic practicing stuff. We are not sure what exactly he saw because it was so long time ago. And those 4 sights shocked Siddhartha because when he was in the palace, he was heavily protected by his father. His father only allowed him to see young, beautiful, everlasting, luxurious things. So he was not aware that people can get old, people can get sick, and or people die. And of course, he did not understand why is that practitioner doing that ascetic practice, being naked over there, and he is very skinny because he has been fasting for his ascetic practice. The prince did not understand. So this is a huge turning point for the advent of Buddhism as a religion, actually. So Siddhartha went home and started to think, why do we all have to suffer? Why is there a point? Why is there a necessity for us to suffer? And can we eliminate all that suffering as a human being? Suffering is a central theme in Buddhism. And this is also what the Buddha advocates. We are here, we all suffer. And the point of Buddhism is for us to not suffer. It sounds simple, but it's very difficult to get to that level because there are different forms of suffering and different outcomes that can be drawn from different forms of suffering. And it is the Buddha's job, as he said, he formulated different teachings, different aspects of life, and taught us different practices as to combat the term not to suffer or eliminate suffering in Buddhism.
How do you eliminate the suffering, or how do you make it less?
Well, so there's a great saying in Buddhism that to first, before eliminate suffering, we must understand suffering. Suffering is something that is inherent in our lives. It is always adjoined with happiness, or the opposite of suffering, if you will. It's like two pieces on a paper. The first side is suffering, and the other side is the opposite of suffering, to not suffer or to have happiness. They always come together. And for Buddhists, we believe that suffering makes us acknowledge that we should do more in our life. If we understand why we are suffering and how we are going to suffer, it makes suffering less painful because everything is anticipated. We know that it is a path of our practice. That since we are suffering eventually, like, it's better off for me to know what I'm going to suffer or how am I going to suffer. And perhaps more important, what can I get out of all this suffering?
Okay. Is it the same as there was last year? I remember this at the med school. They invited I don't know, a group of monks.
Okay.
I remember it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know what type they were, but
I wasn't here at that time.
yeah, they invited them, and then what they were doing is they were making this like art piece with, I think, sand or rice, like colored stuff. I don't know. It was this beautiful piece. They were there for a day, I think like a whole week. If Donis remembers, I'll ask her. But I remember they were doing it, and people are watching them every day. And then at the end, like, it's beautiful, a beautiful piece. I should have took a picture. But then at the end, they like destroy it, and I was like, I thought they were gonna like keep it and do something, and then they talked about something like that.
Yeah. Wow, that is such an important aspect in Buddhism. And may I venture a guess? I wasn't here. Correct me if I'm wrong. They seem like Tibetan Buddhist monks. Were they wearing red robes?
Yes.
Okay. Because you said about painting like art pieces with sand and rice. It sounds like a typical Tibetan experience of creating Buddhist art.
Yeah.
I may be wrong though, but it sounds pretty Tibetan. So the Dalai Lama is also from Tibetan Buddhism.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they like look like the
they had the yellow, orange, yellow, red. They had that.
And they have one arm out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just like that.
Okay, yeah. I'm like 80% certain that it's Tibetan Buddhism, but hey, correct me if I'm wrong again. Yeah, so the thing that you just mentioned, you are confused about why are you willing to spend like a week or 2 weeks. Is how long is the creation?
Yeah, like
doesn't really matter.
Yeah, a long time.
The creation of this magnificent art piece. Excuse me. What is the point of doing this and having us to destroy that after we are done? I'm confused and I don't understand. I think art should be preserved permanently, like at an art gallery. This is one of the forms of suffering taught by the Buddha. So there are 3 forms of suffering. I'm not going to go through all of those by detail, but one of them is suffering from impermanence, or suffering from things are constantly changing. So to be more concrete in a sense, the monks are teaching us that the art piece that they created is transient. It is not something that will last on earth forever and ever for us to appreciate the moment. The moment that I see the art piece, oh, I like it really much. However, after 1 week, the art piece is gone. And I suffer because I like it very much and I want to see it again and again and again in the future. However, I can't, because the universe works that the art piece all the elements, all the atoms, all the molecules, and in that case, all the different colors of paintbrushes, all the coagulation of watercolors were only present at the time during its creation. And if there's a wildfire or there's some naughty child spilling coffee over the painting will be ruined.
Mhm.
And those elements are no longer arranged in a sense to our liking. And more broadly speaking, this goes all the same for us human beings and every other things that we see. For example, this is now a table, this is coffee, this is me, and you are still you. However, if we break this down scientifically, those are made of atoms, molecules, and things are different because they are arranged in different ways. Atoms, molecules, all the biology, the physics things do their job. They are assembled in a certain way for it to become a chair, for it to become a computer screen. However, in 100 years, in 500 years, let's say there's an apocalypse and everything just blows up, or there's drastic climate change and this place goes down into the ocean, or there's a volcanic eruption, everything is buried, kind of like Pompeii. Exterior pressure from water or from fire or from a high temperature will change the integrity and change the organization of all those different properties that were assembled as is at the moment. Everything will change eventually. So we are no longer certain that we will look like this in 500 years, nor will the chair, the tables, they will not look and be recognized as a table in 500 years if this is just blown up out of oblivion. And this concept is heavily promoted by Buddhists as emptiness. Emptiness is a concept for us to eradicate suffering through looking into or acknowledging illusions. Buddhists believe that illusions is the fundamental cause of all of our suffering. Everything that we see, we touch, we perceive, either through our touch or from our cognition, are all polluted by illusion, as in we don't really see what they really are. We may think there's no question for acknowledging this as a table or as a chair. However, those are all conventional names because we are still here in a human world, in a human realm. We cannot say something like, well, this is not really a table. This is atom made up of such a way that I see it as a table. People will think that you're crazy. This is actually a table. This is a cell phone. This is my sunglasses. They are just arranged in a way so I can call it conventionally as something they are not actually are. So emptiness, the concept of emptiness, returns us to the fundamental level, has us understand every single thing are illusions coated by the suffering that is constant change. Everything changes over time, and we assume they are all permanent. And this permanence is an illusion that we should break.
All right, correct me if you can. Is this trying to also eliminate, or I'll say that, eliminate like the materialism?
Yes. So for Buddhism, it is a combination of eliminating our material world, our physical body, and our spiritual world, the mental body, if you will. So it is not only the material that we see, we touch, we perceive. We should also need to make all the illusions in our head disappear. Because we think that we are perceiving things in the most accurate way. However, this is not necessarily true. Although we both have the same eyes, we are looking at the same thing, we will describe identical things very differently because we have different education backgrounds and we are from different countries, we have different cultures, our brains are trained differently. So when we are describing a table, for example, you may talk about this color and I may talk about how sturdy it is, for example. And those are all true, but all not true at the same time. We are describing its quality as of today, and we fail to acknowledge the state of this table 500 years ago when it was still a tree growing somewhere in Vermillion, I think, or it was blown up into oblivion by an apocalypse 5,000 years from now. We can only acknowledge its current state through our touch or our perception through our eyes, through, if you want to taste the table, through our tongue. That is also one of the perceptive organs that Buddhists promote. Those are not real because we cannot get to the essence that is essentially, according to Buddhism, emptiness. The thing that we shouldn't be able to describe it because there's no point for us to do so is that we cannot acknowledge its real state at one given time.
How does the reincarnation fit in? And also, I also want to ask, what are some of the misconceptions about reincarnation? I'm guessing, different religions have different perspectives on it.
Yes.
But how does that work with y'all?
Well, speaking of misconceptions, I should start with clarifying the word karma.
Yeah.
So, karma is a word that we have been seeing a lot in Netflix or movie shows, or usually people would think of karma as a negative influence, like if you step on something, that's bad karma. Well, actually, karma is a Sanskrit term and it is very neutral. It only means action. So it does not have any good connotation or bad connotation to it. If I win the lottery, well, it's just, normal karma. And I got punched in the face by you. If I say something wrong to you, well, that is also karma, not bad karma for me. And karma is the fuel for reincarnation. So in the Buddhist tradition, there are 6 different realms that we can be reincarnated to. And there are the good realms and the bad realms. So there are 3 things in the good realm. You can be reborn as a god. There's the god realm. And below that, we call an Asura realm. Asura realm is like a demigod, so half god, half man realm. And finally, the worst of the good places are us here. We are in the human realm. So, not the best, but still in a good place. And for the bad places, there are also 3. We have the animal realm. So unfortunately, my cat is in the animal realm. And there is the realm of the hungry ghosts. This is a bit abstract for Western viewers, I would say, because this is very much an Asian idea. Hungry ghosts, not to get into too much detail, are a light version of hell that consists of spirits or beings being hungry all the time as a sort of punishment of their greed and ignorance when they are here. So if you are very greedy, then chances are in your next life you will be very hungry. And the final realm, which is the worst realm, is the hell realm. So all 6 realms forms a wheel. And this wheel in the Buddhist tradition is called samsara. And samsara is a term that is also used in Hinduism. It's basically denotes all the realms that we are possible to get in after we die. So we accumulate karma in our present day, and when we die, there's sort of like a judgment day thing going on similar to Islam, and we will be judged through our karma whether we should be in a better place or in a bad place. However, all those places are still embedded in the 6 wheels, in the wheel of samsara. We are always getting reincarnated again and again and again. This originates from Hinduism. It also talks about how we are always and forever in the cycle. So as you think deeper of it, reincarnation is actually not that good because it provides infinite loops for human beings. There is no way out. You are just stuck in the wheel forever, no matter how you like it. Even though you are reincarnated to the God's realm,
Yeah.
there is also a tenure in the God's place. For example, 100,000 years or 1 million years. All the years are real actually because they are the years were recorded in various Buddhist scriptures and sutras about in what level you achieve, how long can you stay at that place. And after you spend that many years in, let's say, the God realm, you will still enter samsara, the realm or the wheel. And the interesting thing about us being human, we suffer.
Okay.
The reason for us to suffer, according to the Buddha's wisdom, is that suffering makes us acknowledge that we are not enough. There are something that we need to cling onto to be a better self. So suffering is actually what fuels us, pushes us forward for Buddhist practice. So if we are on the human realm and we are suffering, there's a good chance that you will turn to religion and you will turn to follow the Buddhist teachings and you will ascend to the Asura, the demigod realm, or the God realm. However, if you are in the demigod realm or the God realm, you are so happy there that you are not suffering. And if you're not suffering, chances are that you will probably not spend that much time in practicing Buddhism, that is. Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So there are a lot of stories about demigods and gods actually going back to hell because they fail to do their job when they're so high up there. So it doesn't sound like a very neat place for us to stay in the wheel that we call samsara. Buddhism provides an ultimate way out of it that we call nirvana. Yeah, so nirvana, not the band, but
I was thinking that too.
yeah, like when I was teaching Buddhism last week, I have a student wearing a nirvana t-shirt. I was like, oh, nice. Yeah, but so nirvana eliminates all suffering. We truly understand emptiness, and karma stops working in nirvana. Everything that you do is done. So you ascend and you escape through this wheel. You are no longer needed to be reincarnated once more.
So you could escape it.
You escape the cycle.
Okay.
Escaping the cycle into nirvana is the ultimate goal of Buddhism that is grounded in karma, suffering, and emptiness.
I'm gonna backtrack on.
Yes, please.
So when I get it makes sense with the. I'll tell you why. I watch a lot of movies and I think this is where I'm getting it from.
Sure.
So when you mentioned about if you reach like the God level,
Yes.
or even like say demigod above, higher than humans, and then like they're not technically suffering, and then they lose that, that hey, what's it like? It reminds me of those. Actually, it could be like like I'll give an example like those Greek gods where, or it doesn't have to be Greek gods. It could be like a lot of these other ancient gods when they talk about how they're doing bad things or they don't care and this and that because I guess they think they're higher up. Kind of true, right? Yeah, I was thinking that because if people like for example, like I'll give a good example. And I'm stuttering a lot.
No.
With Zeus, it looks like he did a lot of bad things, and you're like, but isn't he like one of those like gods? But I guess also like, hey, I guess once you reach that level, you're like, well, I guess everything's so good. You lose that, you kind of lose it. I guess it could kind of be the same, kind of, not too accurate. Like when I guess let's say you grow up like poor. This is a bad example, but this is my example. You grow up poor, and then for some reason, and then you move up to that top level for so many years. Then you lose track of like, hey, well, you forget these people or how they're living. You're like, oh, why don't they do this? Because you stay at that level for so long, you kind of forget. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that's what I was like kind of thinking about.
I have two responses, and this is 100% right. Firstly, are you referring to the Netflix show about like chaos?
I haven't seen it, but I saw a trailer.
It's really good. It's played by that Jurassic Park guy. I can't remember his name. Jeff.
Jeff Gold.
Yeah.
Golden. Yeah, I know he is.
He has like a vibe that just portrays Zeus really well. He's a crazy guy in that series, but it's it's like
okay. I need to check it out.
Basically, what you just said about all the all the gods being crazy up there, and they're trying to destroy the human race. Yeah. And well, so this is my first unofficial response, and the second one is actually your point is very, very valid. As in some contemporary Buddhist apologetics, meaning those are not from the original Buddha's teachings, but from like more recent, perhaps later than after the Enlightenment or 1800s, 1900s, etc. Buddhist apologetics during their attacks to other religions, for example, when they're attacking three Abrahamic religions, attacking their origin Hinduism, or attacking Greek or Roman mythology, etc., they would say, sure, your gods are flawed. I'm being really careful here, but those are not my opinion, guys. So according to Buddhist apologetics, all your gods in your religion are still within the realm of samsara. They are so angry because, well, they are just in the demigod's realm, or they are in the God's realm. They haven't achieved our full awareness of nirvana yet. So we have our God, the Buddha, and other Buddhas, because there are multiple Buddhas in the Buddhist tradition. There are multiple Buddhas who are already escaped the wheel of samsara, and we are looking down at your God, seeing that, man, you're just staying there and be angry all the time. What's the point? Just come up. So in a sense, I don't like this hierarchy really much, because this is how religion compares with each other, because by attacking each other, I guess, it sort of makes sense if you're trying to make your religion better than others. But this is one of the arguments that Buddhist apologetics would make. Non-Buddhist deities or gods are not enlightened yet. They have yet to enter nirvana. So eventually, Zeus or some Greek mythology, Greek gods, they will eventually come down as a human, or even worse, into the lower three realms, because they did not have the motivation to practice and be a better self.
If you move down on the next life,
yes,
do you remember that past life or not really?
Okay, so there's a theory in Buddhism, actually. The higher you are, the more past life that you can remember. So yesterday I've shown a video about Gordon Ramsay practicing at a Thai Buddhist temple.
Yeah.
And he said he was agitated and frustrated and angry all the time. And my theory, sorry Gordon, if you're watching this,
hopefully,
Chef Ramsay, just my 2 cents. There's a story about how angry people that we have met are all descended from the Asura realm, because the demigods are always angry because they are half god and half human, and they don't know where they belong. So they're agitated, frustrated, and always angry in that realm. And when they are reincarnated downwards as a human, they carry their habits and behavior. So it is actually, to answer your question more directly, it is actually not actually the memory that we carry, is the habit and the behavior that we carry. So if you're descended from the God realm to the Asura realm or to the men realm, you may be more tend to meditate, or people seeing you as, oh, he's like a stern person, or he just feels calm because he remembered himself practicing in the God realm, but he did something wrong, obviously, so he was down here. But not so much for the lower three realms, because cognitive power are very limited if you're an animal, if you're a ghost, or if you're in hell, because according to the Buddha's words, you cannot understand what we are talking about. So it would be very difficult for them to perceive the world around them. Like, for example, when we turn on the TV and we, entered a Sunday school online, or we watch someone's teachings or some rabbi giving a sermon, we would understand what he or she is talking about because we share the same language. More often, like my cat will also watch sermons with me, and he cannot understand because he is in the animal realm.
Mm-hmm.
So he will not have much memory carried with him to the next lifetime when he reincarnates.
Can the animals drop down a level or even move up if they're not, I guess, aware too much?
Yes, there are multiple stories about how the lower realms can go up. And there are two analogies. I'll just go for the first one on how to ascend into the human realm. In the Buddhist tradition, is actually from Hindu mythology, but the Buddhist has an interesting twist to it. So the analogy was how difficult it is to be reborn or to be reincarnated as a human. The story goes like this. Imagine the size of an earth that is entirely covered by the ocean. And the ocean is 10,000 meters deep. I don't do feet, so 10,000 meters, like 10 kilometers deep. And there are mighty waves that is constantly being on the surface of the ocean, so horrible weather. And on the ocean surface, like the surface of the ocean, there's one wooden slab with a hole on it. And the slab is drifting through the hurricane or the wind. And at the bottom of the ocean, there is a blind turtle. And this blind turtle can hold his breath for 100 years. For every 100 years, the blind turtle needs to move up and swim up for 10 kilometers and pops up into like the ocean surface and breathe. And he will dive right back down directly. And the chances are for one non-human being to be reincarnated as a human, the chances are for this turtle, 100 years being blind, his head to stick through the hole in the wooden slab on the ocean that is the size of our Earth. So basically, it is impossible. The chances are so low for us to get reincarnated as a human. So for viewers, if you're watching, we should consider ourselves lucky because we are a successful blind turtle that his head out of the wooden slab. And in Buddhism, there are many exterior factors that can induce this opportunity. One of them being if you are an animal, if you live in proximity to Buddhist temples, churches, you have the opportunity to hear good teachings. Even though you couldn't understand them, those good teachings are saved into your mind, one of the consciousness of your mind that is utilized in the future. And this consciousness, let me break it down real quick, is the mental or the non-materialistic things that we possess that we also need to be detached from. So in addition to getting rid of the material world, we are also getting rid of our thinking, our non-material psychological world. And Buddhism believes that there are 8 different consciousnesses, plural, in our mind that builds up our characteristic. And those different consciousness have different functions that plays in life. And one of the consciousness are used for the afterlife. So my cat, when I speak the Buddha's words to my cat, or when my cat is listening to some good sermon, those information will be stored in this consciousness that he can utilize when he was reincarnated in the future. Sometime, the Buddha didn't tell us when, but sometime when the causes and conditions are right, when everything lines up perfectly, this condition, this consciousness would sprout. In the Buddhist tradition, it depicts as a sprout into a tree. And when this tree sprouts, this means that you are utilizing whatever teachings that you have heard back in the days, and it turns to your advantage when you are trying to ascend up to the human realm, the blind turtle ocean kind of thing.
Okay. Is there also, I want to talk more about the reincarnation with the past lives.
Yes.
Is there also like, was there ever like a starting point for someone, or has it always been like a wheel and it's just too hard to comprehend? Or is there like we start as this in the beginning, or how does that work?
This is such a good question. So for Buddhism and Hinduism, there is a concept called the primordialness of enlightenment or the primordialness of Buddhahood, meaning this thing or this, I shouldn't say policy, but this rule has been there since time indefinitely back in the past, and it will extend indefinitely also in the future. This is a universal law that always happens. And the founder of Buddhism, the Buddha, or some of the creator gods in Hinduism are merely representations in our time for us to see. There are numerous previous Buddhas, numerous creator gods. In the Hinduism case, it would be Brahman, countless of them being so far back into the universe that they consist the ultimate reality of the universe. They are the rule that we should abide to. So there is not a starting point. We are just entering the cycle whenever the time is right for us. That cycle is always there. It is always true. And this primordialness parallels really nicely to Abrahamic religions. For example, for the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, for Judaism, all of the laws, all of the regulations, or the inscriptions written there are always true. It is not that, when God and Abraham made their covenant, then the Hebrew Bible becomes true. That is not the case. The Hebrew Bible is always true before God, before Abraham. This is how the universe works. It is not a set of rules made just for an existence of a religion or a deity. So I think old enough religions like Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and some, in my class, I also talk about Taoism. A Chinese religion talks about feng shui and yin yang, right? The primordialness signifies that more deeply, we should not get attached in try to figure out how an origin of a religion is, because it is not important when practicing or studying a religion. All that matters is that it is always true. It doesn't matter when it started or when it ends. It is the primordial truth.
Now, speaking back, I'm going to make some comparisons with Christianity and Buddhism.
Yes.
And I'm I feel like I shouldn't even be talking about it.
No.
I probably, even though I go to church and I ask a lot of questions, I probably will deconvert people because I am horrible. Because I'm always asking questions. I'll probably say this wrong.
Deconvert is such a weird word.
I don't know. I'm bad at explaining this. But if I get this right, with the reincarnation, it seems like how I'm thinking about it. Because at first, it seems like there's a chance
Yes.
at reaching that enlightenment, or is it, you said nirvana?
Yes.
It seems like there's a chance. And if I'm remembering right, with Christianity, it seems like you only get that one chance, because you either, like, if you die, you either go to heaven or you spend, your eternity in hell.
Eternity, yeah.
Unless, if I remember right, I think there's the Revelations where I'll talk with Robbie or someone about it, but I think later on everyone goes to heaven. But what I know now is you only get that one chance. But it seems like with Buddhism, you can move. There's always a wheel, so even if you mess up, you might have a chance. And then, I guess there's still a goal, right?
Yes.
Okay.
However, this is very controversial. So people would usually say, what about really, really bad people in the Buddhist tradition? For example, Hitler.
Yeah.
Just like he deserved a second chance. Like, just imagine Hitler in heaven or something. Like, this is so controversial that if you really understand that this part of history of the Holocaust or the Second World War, you think, wow, I don't like the guy. He doesn't deserve anything that is good. So in the Buddhist tradition, it is actually fair in the regards that, sure, everyone has a second chance, but some people, they are offered a second chance or multiple chances, they refuse to take it. Because usually in the Buddhist tradition that your ego is so hard and concrete and so high that you go to hell, a Buddhist hell that is, and you refuse to take anything else. You think that, I'm complacent as I am. I don't need your stupid teachings. So, that is the case. So there are many bad guys equivalent to Hitler in the Buddhist tradition. Many of them are from mystical stories and how like they're mythological beings, so some of them are not real. And there are some also like real historical figures that are just really bad. And the Buddhist texts and the Buddhist teachings have it that they are so ignorant, and they are so masked up by illusions that they cannot see a way out of their own salvation. In this case, they will spend time in hell, similar to a Christian hell, for eternity because they don't understand this opportunity is a thing.
And another thing, if I'm remembering right, because I swear, I think I asked this a lot when I'm at church or talking with people, with my friends, because I always wondered, like, yeah, a bad person like Hitler, or especially, I was thinking, actually, another example is that serial killer, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, the Netflix series.
Yeah, that one.
By Quicksilver.
Yeah. So, yeah. Great actor. So he horrible. I think he's a horrible person for killing all these people.
Yeah.
And then I was reading I think not a biography, but an article where he went to jail or went to prison, and then he said he became a Christian, a born again Christian. That's what he says.
I didn't know the.
Yeah, that's what he said. And then one of the things that we talk about, and it's this stuff. I think it depends who you talk with, because a lot of people will be like, I think if I remember right, please correct me if I'm wrong. Anyone in Christianity, as long as you could be a bad person, but once I think if you accept Jesus Christ and you actually repent, and say, you admit, hey, this is wrong, and you try to change, you still have that chance. And then that was one of the things, though, people were saying, even I was thinking too, I was like, well, what if you are like a bad, like Hitler or that, like, hey, just because you think, oh, you mess up, or like you say, oh, I messed up, I have a chance, but you did all these things. But they're saying, if I remember right, in Christianity, well, yeah, everyone has a chance as long as you change or repent. And that's where I was thinking too, like, man, but I don't want to be in, like, if there is, like, for example, in Christianity, if there's a heaven, I don't want to be with that guy. But I guess that's when they also say, well, everyone has a chance. But also another thing is saying other people will say is, no, he's not a born again Christian or something like that. I don't know about that. But there's those, I guess you still have that kind of like a chance, because not everyone's perfect. Everyone messes up with something, I think. I don't know where I was going with that. Like,
I love this question so much. So if you understand Chinese, for Taiwanese faculty and Chinese faculty here at USD or whoever that understand Chinese watching it, there is a saying, I'll just speak it in Chinese. It's called, I know some of you may have been thinking about it, is 放下屠刀,立地成佛, right? So this saying basically directly translates to the first sentence, 放下屠刀. 放下means to put down or put it down. 屠, butcher. 刀 means knife. So put down a butcher knife. 立地成佛. You will immediately stand up and become a Buddha. So this is one of the more important sayings in Buddhism and or the Chinese culture about repentance. Like, if you are the utmost bad person imaginable, and if you repent at the last second, you're willing to drop the knife that you are used to kill people with, for example, and you admit, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, this is wrong, you will instantly become a Buddha. This is very similar to the things that you have just been talking about. Oh, last minute converts, and I can still be in a good place as all of you do. I'm not sure how the Christian canon thinks about this, but according to the Buddhist canon, the Buddhist scriptures, this has something to do with the consciousness that I have just mentioned. Remember that we have talked about the seed of consciousness that will sprout into a tree that carries through the second lifetime. Those really bad people, according to the Buddhist tradition, they have nothing in their seed to sprout out at the moment before they die. So if there are bad person who are willing to drop their knife and repent to the Buddha just before they die, that is because they had the opportunity to get in proximity to the Buddha's teachings in a previous lifetime that led his seed to sprout at this specific moment. So everything he did is not a spontaneous choice. And it's not like, oh, I'm just saying this, but I don't usually care. I'm not repenting. I'm just saying this because I want to go to heaven. This never works in Buddhism, and I don't think this works for Christianity as well. This is not how religions work, guys. You need to fully repent, and for you to be able to fully repent in Buddhism, your seed have to sprout from a previous lifetime. So now they are, I know in Taiwan and in China, I don't know about contemporary China though, but at least I know in Taiwan that there are Buddhist monks who would enter prison and talk about the Buddhist teachings to death row inmates. Not like death row is really a thing in Taiwan anymore, but for inmates or for prisoners that are locked in there for forever, like life sentences, this plants a seed for them so they can use it in their future lifetime, because they are pretty much done for this life, and they are definitely not going to heaven for this life. If you are locked in prison, as you have a life sentence because you killed so many people, you're not going to heaven in the Buddhist tradition. The least thing that Buddhism can offer at this moment is to plant a seed. No matter you believe in it or not at the moment, it doesn't matter, because your consciousness, one of the consciousness that sprouts in the future, would automatically capture this and store inside your spiritual body, and it will sprout in the future when you need it.
Okay.
Yes, and in the next future, you may not be a bad person anymore. You may just be reincarnated as a poor person as a punishment, or,
Okay, and then hopefully, there you plant that seed, and hopefully you jump up to the next level.
Yes, and keep the wheel slowly revolving. But this takes such a long, long time.
Okay, speaking back on the Hitler and Jeffrey Dahmer stuff, there is, I remember it now. I can't believe throughout my life, I'm barely learning about the Christianity stuff. But in the Bible now, there's a guy named Paul. I think he was Saul, then Paul.
Yep.
He was killing Christians bad, if I remember right. And then for some reason, I need to pay more attention, but for some reason, he, I guess, repented, he stopped, and then now he became one of the people defending Christianity. So he got that change, that repentance. So I guess it can happen. You could become, you could be a very bad, a bad person, but you could still change. But hey, you could stop what you're doing. But hey, this is wrong. Whatever it could be, in this life, or maybe in Buddhism in the next life, you still got that chance. We're running out of time, but I'm gonna blast some. I want to blast a few questions really, really quick.
Yes,
this one's way off topic.
Yeah.
So in Buddhism, I want to talk. I'm very interested in that reincarnation. Now, does that apply only on Earth, or can that apply in other planets if there's aliens in life? So I'm going way off topic on this one.
Such a great question. So I would argue that Buddhism is one of the earliest religions that observe a multiverse, like the second Doctor Strange movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It talks about parallel universes, multiverse, and how human lives in different realms. So all possible. The entire universe is the realm of the Buddha. Not just our universe, but everything that is cognitively imaginable are under control and all in the wheel of samsara. So still, if you're an alien, you are still being reborn as a better alien or a less fortunate alien. Yeah.
It will be the same topic about Jesus Christ, but I'm gonna go more off track.
Okay.
Because I like looking up like kind of like the conspiracy theories with different religions. There's a conspiracy theory that they said, because I believe Buddhism and Hinduism is older than Christianity. If I'm right,
Yes.
I think there is something that I heard. Same thing, it's just a conspiracy theory that Jesus probably traveled over there and learned about Buddhism. But what is y'all's thoughts on Jesus Christ? Or if you kind of
interesting. So I feel like this is another podcast episode when I talk about how my research is in academic Buddhism. I have heard about that conspiracy before, both on the apologetic or the defending sides, on both parts actually. And I don't think there are hard evidence suggesting that Buddha and Jesus were bros. Well, if you're interested, there's a Japanese anime. It's called Saint Men. It's about the Buddha and Jesus. They took a vacation from heaven and they lived in Japan together. It's like based in contemporary Japan. Like they go to bathhouses and like they rent an apartment and get a cat together. Things like that.
That's cool.
It's a weird and cool anime that it has decent English translation actually. Yeah. Anyways, so this happens. I can say more about my academic expertise. I do Buddhism in China in about 13th to 18th century, so pre-modern China or the Ming Dynasty China, if you will. And at the time, there has been an advent of foreign missionaries talking about Christianity and Catholicism in China. And at the time was also where Chinese Buddhism was at its best, I would argue. There are a huge number of eminent monks, great monks and great nuns in Ming Dynasty China, and they have been in actual contact with foreign missionaries. And there are epistolary exchanges, like letter exchanges to each other. I write to you, oh, dear missionary, Jesus Christ is great. And they wrote back, oh, the Buddha is also great. There are some pleasant exchanges and there are fierce exchanges. And I've read both of them. And this goes for, this parallels to what I said in the beginning of this session, is that Buddhist apologetics regard all non-Buddhist gods and deities as non-enlightened. So sometimes they would categorize Jesus in the God realm. So, when Jesus served his tenure in the heavenly realm, he will still come back as a human being or go down to the Asura realm. Or if he did not do anything good, probably not in the great places. So, because they think Jesus is still attached to some things according to their attacks. Now, of course, this doesn't represent every single view from a Buddhist practitioner or a Buddhist scholar. Those are just some critiques formulated by some practitioners.
Ooh, okay. So this is where
controversial it is.
Okay, I'm gonna go way conspiracy theory on this.
Sure.
So I've heard people will say, depending on who, like on the Abrahamic God of the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament. Sometimes people say in the Old Testament he's very different. They say he's very like angry and fire and brimstone. And in the New Testament he changes. That's what some people will say. I'm going conspiracy right here. So could it be possible that Abrahamic God, he's in the God realm, and because all that stuff that happened, he dropped into when Jesus Christ came, because they say it's him. Could he have dropped to the human or even demigod realm? You kind of understand that? Like, could that be one of those maybe so in that part of the region.
I mean, in the Buddhist tradition, it is possible because we don't know how long their tenure is. So they can stay there for 50 years as a god, or they can stay for 100,000 years for a god.
Yeah, because I was thinking, because one of the things is I always wonder, I was like, why did, if they're the same, why did he become human? And I hear, if I remember right, they'll say, well, it's so he could understand, the human aspect. And I was like, ooh, what if he did drop down? I don't know. I'm going way off topic on this. I don't know if I'm doing blasphemy, but this is what I
Wow,
started thinking.
I have so much to say about this, but I think, we're out of time.
Yeah. I'll get you a second round, and this is fascinating. I like this stuff.
I will be here for a second episode.
All right. Now, before we leave, is there any... Well, first of all, I like the coffee. This isn't like a sponsor, but you got it from the bean, and I don't drink coffee, but this stuff is like...
The bean.
This is banging. I kind of like this stuff. What would you get? What kind of coffee?
Just a regular latte.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee, and I drink it all. So I give shout outs to the bean. But now, is there any last things or last words you want to give out?
Okay, I guess I should advertise for myself at USD. As I just said, not we, but I will offer world religion classes if you're interested in learning all about religion here at USD every semester. And in the future, I will offer a class just for Buddhism, so like the Worlds of Buddhism class. And I am also teaching World Civ 1 and 2 in the future. And let's see. Oh, for next semester, I'm offering a Chinese history class. And from my knowledge, according to my chair, Dave Burrow, shout out to Dave if you're watching, I will be the first one to offer since the 1970s about Chinese history. So it'll be fun. We'll be looking into movies, anime, comic books, and some cool stuff about Chinese history. And in the future, because I also do digital humanities, I will have a seminar on digital humanities and perhaps do some introduction to GIS or spatial humanity courses. Stay tuned, guys.
Sweet. All right. I'm so excited about round 2, hopefully. But
Me too.
I do want to thank you so much for being on, Jeffrey.
Thank you for hosting me today.